series. As you all know, if you don't know, I am your host, Monique Johnson. So, the whole intention behind this series, this is the third edition that we're doing, is that I'm asking business veterans. Like being very strategic as to who I bring on to this virtual summit, but business veterans who've literally been in business for at least more than 2 or 3 years, who are utilizing the amazing medium of video to pretty much become part of their business lifestyle in addition to their personal lifestyle, but more so than anything else, that they have used to either build their business, grow it, and take it to another level. And so I figured, you guys hear me talk about video all the time, and you might be sick of hearing it from me. I figured let's bring in experts, those who are coming from all different walks of life, all different levels of business, so that you can hear an alternative view, in addition to learn some specific steps and strategies in order to integrate business video into your business. So I'm really, really excited to have our guests. And before I bring them up, for this success series, if you want to gain access to the full schedule, yesterday we kicked it off with Ian Dunlap, and he brought it. He did not hold back, and he was in a unique niche of investing. We talked about investing in stocks passively to turn into video ROI, and he brought it. He talked to us, and he even talked about like some of the things he's missed out on, but he's looking to incorporate now when it comes to video, because at least at the time of this particular virtual summit, the attention is on you. That's no longer right now, based on what's going on in the world. Attention and getting eyeballs is the easiest way to do literally right now. You will not have this opportunity again. So let's take advantage of it. And that's why I want to bring on these amazing guests that we have in order to make that happen. So if you want to have access to the full schedule, be sure to check out the links either in the comment or the description up or down below this video. And also, we're having a second guest at 4 p.m. Eastern today. And if you're not even able to attend the whole thing live, be sure to still sign up because you'll get access to the recordings. All right, so without further ado, I want to bring on our next guest. And if you guys have been following me online, I kind of gave you a preview as to how we met. He's actually someone that I have discovered almost a decade ago on YouTube, okay? And he was creating content, putting a lot of content out. And those of you guys who know me, I grew up playing ball. And so what I loved is how he was incorporating his message and his core principles and integrating it into the game of basketball. And so, I've known about him for so long, but we had the opportunity to actually run into each other earlier this year, which seems like decades ago based on what's going on in Tennessee at Funnel Hacking Live. And, I just saw him randomly walking. He was on the phone, and I had to take like a triple take to make sure. I was like, is that who I think it was? And I ended up stalking him, and it turns out I was right. It was the right person, and it's like, whoa, I have not, I was literally what I'm trying to say here is I feel like he's one of the best kept secrets out there when it comes to creating content, video content, making it a whole business, impacting people all over the world. And so I know I'm chattering here, so let's bring on Dre. Welcome, Dre.
Having me on, and you're right. It does feel like a long time ago when we were in Nashville. It was only not even 3 months ago, but
I
it
know,
does
right?
feel like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we met this year, and yeah, it seems like it was forever ago. So, Dre, I kind of gave people a preview as to my experience with you, but please, those who have no idea who you are, please let us know, and those who are watching us live or on the replay, who you are and what you do.
Well, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many people know me as Dre all day. My background is as a 9 year professional basketball player. I played overseas, traveling through 8 countries over my career after coming out of a Division III school that I walked onto, which for people who don't know sports, that's highly unlikely that a D3 athlete walk on becomes a professional athlete. Now, while I was playing ball, when I first started my career, which I started by going to this event called an exposure camp, which is basically like a job fair for athletes where you go and show if you can play. And if you play well there, maybe one of the decision makers in attendance can help you start your career. That's what happened with me. I showed that I could play. I was able to sign with an agent. That agent helped me get my career started in Lithuania. That was my first job playing pro ball. And I took the footage from that exposure camp where I had played pretty well. And I put that footage onto this brand new site called youtube.com. And that was in 2000. And I started my career in 2005. I put that video on YouTube in 2006. And from there, while I was playing ball, I started every now and then I would grab a camera and I would record some basketball drill, put it on YouTube. But it was very sporadic. I just put it out whenever I felt like it. I would have video sitting on my hard drive for 3 months before I ever got to editing it because I just didn't care. Because who cares about putting videos on YouTube? Back then, a YouTube video was like you point the laser up the curtain and your cat jumps and tries to get it. That was basically all you had on YouTube. It didn't matter if you had a YouTube channel. But then around 2009, I heard that YouTube, since they had been purchased by Google, they start offering opportunities for people who made videos to make money from their video. And I was already going to the gym every day. And I said, how about I just put a video on YouTube every day? The challenge with that, even though it sounds like a simple idea now, the challenge with that then was that I didn't know if I had enough ideas to even last a month, let alone over 10 years. So, I mean, long story short, I ended up having enough ideas. I just started putting different videos out, different drills on the court every day. And during that time, around 2010, players started asking me, well, Dre, how do you show up every day? What's your discipline to keep you showing up? How do you stay mentally tough when you got cut from your high school team 3 years in a row, which is a true story. And I started talking about the mindset behind what I was doing on the court: discipline, confidence, mental toughness, personal initiative, which is how I got into pro basketball. And that material, which happened like right in the middle of my basketball career, started another career for me because I saw that there were people who didn't play basketball who were resonating with my message, at least the off the court stuff, the mindset stuff. They didn't care about dribbling drills and dunking, but they did care about confidence and discipline. So people would tell me like, Dre, I don't even want to play basketball, but I subscribe to your channel because I want to hear what you're going to say about like the mindset stuff. I can use this at my job and I don't even play sports. So I knew when my career would end, whenever I decided to stop playing, I had another path that I could go on by taking the same mindset tools that you need to succeed in sports and teaching people how they apply it in business and in life. And now, 10 years past that, I stopped playing pro ball in 2015. That's exactly what I did. I made a somewhat seamless transition from playing sports and talking about mindset into now I don't play sports, but I still talk about mindset and how that applies to business and life.
Thank you for that amazing introduction. But the
Thank you.
reason why I have, Dre come on, guys, I mean, listen, he's been in it for the long game, literally. He's been in it for a very long time and has been consistent with it. And so, Dre, you kind of answered this question, but let's just, address this. Why should someone do video for their business and also their personal brand today?
Man, well, several reasons why somebody should do video for their business personal brand. One reason is if you're going to build a personal brand, then you're asking audience members to make a personal connection with you. And if you want people to make a personal connection with you, you have to get personal with them. Now, since you may not be able to meet everybody in person, and as humans, we have this physical limitation that we can only be in one place at a time, but the internet allows you to connect with anyone in the world. If you do video, people can not only understand what you're saying, what you could do through writing, but they also can hear you, what you also do through audio, but then they can also see you, what you do through video. So it allows people to really understand because, I mean, everyone's heard these studies on communication, that most of communication, and there's different numbers that get thrown out there, but most of communication is nonverbal, right? It's not the words that we say, it's the energy behind the words, it's the body language, it's the tone of voice, it's the look in the eyes, it's the way a person's holding their body, it's their posture. All of these things are part of the communication, and that's what really causes people to connect with you or not connect with you, even though most people think it's just the words that we say. So people want to perfect their script and get the exact perfect words, but that's not even what people are buying into. They're buying into your energy. And they're buying into the way that you project yourself onto the screen or the mic or onto the paper if you're a writer. So that's one main reason why video really helps you make a direct connection with people, and you can connect with a bunch of people at the same time through video and through the internet. And as far as making video for your business, the reason it matters is because you don't have to be perfect when you're on video. When you're a writer, you have the editing process, which can take forever. Trust me, I know. And you want to get the words to be all perfect. Even when you're on audio, people can't see you, so all they're going off of is what they can hear. But on video, you can be who you are. And all of us as human beings, we have imperfections. And when people connect with you, it's not because you're perfect or you have this perfect script that's completely flawless and is always going to work and convert. It's because you are being a flawed individual, which you actually are, and other people who are watching you, guess what? They're flawed individuals as well. So they can sense that uniqueness, that authenticity about you. And one thing that we really need as consumers, as all of us are consumers as well as producers, we seek authenticity. We crave authenticity these days. We can sniff out BS from a mile away. And these days we're getting better and better at it because every day we're getting this training with all these ads and all these posts coming through from people. Every day we get to sniff out who's authentic and who's not. And through video, you can learn and hone your authentic voice over time. And hey, if the first couple videos you put out are terrible, it doesn't matter because nobody was watching you anyway. Nobody knew you. But over time, you'll get better and you can be that authentic self. And that's what people are going to connect with and stick with over time, no matter who you are, what you're talking about.
Boom, boom, boom. I should like, actually, I'm about to do this right now. Throw some DJ air horn. You dropped so many bombs right there. So thank you for sharing all of that. Because yeah, I feel that people, especially when it comes to video, they make it really complicated. In fact, the guest that we had yesterday, he does a lot of video, but he's not necessarily showing his face. But he's been consistent with it, and he has like a whole theme and stuff like that. So it kind of makes up for that. But I really love the fact that how you tackled it. So one of the main reasons, Dre, that I had you come on or have you come on is your whole philosophy on mindset. But first things first, talk to us about work on your game. Let's talk about it. I know it has 4 different pillars and all of that. So what does work on your game movement mean? And yeah, just talk to us about that.
Well, the whole work on your game thing happened around 2009. This is around the time when I started to put videos on YouTube, maybe once a month, maybe every other week, because I was starting to see there was an audience. There were basketball players who obviously they wanted to learn basketball, but there was no one actually putting this stuff out on the internet for free for them to learn. I didn't realize that until around 2008. And at this time, I'm playing overseas. I'm going back and forth between Europe and America. And at this point, it was early 2009. I remember this day. I was at a 24-hour fitness in Miami, and it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. And I had just finished the workout, and I had my camera with me as always. I don't think I had even recorded anything that day during that workout. I just kept the camera with me. But in my mind, I was thinking about a lot of the questions I was starting to get on YouTube in the comment section. And a lot of players would come to me asking me for like advice and tips, or Dre, what can I do to get better at this and this? And I just thought like I need to make one definitive message so these players understand like they're not quite getting it. They think that I'm just going to tell them and tactically help them with every challenge. That's not the issue. So I made this video and I explained to them, I said, listen, the reason why you're garbage right now, the reason why you're not making your high school team, the reason why you're on the bench is because instead of being in the gym like me, you're on YouTube watching videos. You're sitting at home playing Xbox. You're standing on the corner talking to your friends. You're chasing around girls. No wonder you can't play. So what you need to do is close out the video, don't watch me, and go work on your game. And I put a F in there for emphasis. And that was the first time that I said work on your game on video. And people heard that. And I wasn't even trying to make anything out of that statement. I was just saying what I needed to say, but people heard it and they started repeating it back to me. Like, oh, Dre, work on your game. I like that. And people kept saying it, and a light bulb went off in my head. I said, you know what? That's actually a perfect slogan phrase. Now it's become a brand. It's the name of my company, Work on Your Game. So as I continued to play ball, that was in 2009, like I said, I just started thinking about what are the main elements that I needed to make it, quote unquote, as a basketball player that could also apply in life. And I figured out what they were. First of all, it's the discipline, showing up every single day and doing the work, whatever that work may be. Confidence. You got to be willing to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, for example, on video. mental toughness, continuing to be disciplined and continuing to believe in yourself and your plan, even when you haven't yet achieved the results that you expected. And then personal initiative, which allows you to put all of this stuff in motion and actually go make things happen instead of sitting around and, passively waiting for things to happen. And those elements apply in the business world, in the video world, in the sports world, anything that you do. If you apply those four elements, you're going to get what you want to get. You just have to be consistent in their application. So that's what work on your game is about. That's where it came from. And obviously, I still use it to this very day.
Thank you for sharing. And I would say, guys, Dre has written he's written 25 books. Sorry, I was about to say over 25. 25 books.
Soon
And
to be over 25.
okay, soon to be over 25, right?
Yeah.
And Dre, I noticed like in your book lineup, if you will, there's a lot that talks about mindset. So
Mm-hmm.
why do you focus so much on mindset? And then we're going to go into
Mm-hmm.
more detail with that when it comes to video. But why do you focus so much on mindset?
And the reason why I focus so much on mindset is because everyone can control the way that they feel about a situation. Everyone can control their attitude. We're not all blessed with the same talents. We don't all have the same tangible resources. We're not all in the same environments. We're not all lucky enough to be born into the same families or to be in the right place at the right time. But with the right mentality, anyone can put themselves in the position to be successful. It's not that anyone can do anything necessarily. Not everybody can be a basketball player. Not everybody can be a sumo wrestler. But everyone can position themselves for success with the right mentality, because no matter anything that you're going to do, you have to do the work. There's a consistent amount of work that needs to be done for anyone to achieve an outcome. Of course, you got to believe in yourself in order to even try. You got to be mentally tough, because it's not always going to be easy, especially if you're ambitious. And you have to put it in motion. You have to actually do something. Right? Having a mentality is cool and having the information is good, but if you never actually take a step and move your feet, nothing's going to happen. So those things, again, no matter what your resources, with the right mentality, you can achieve any outcome you want. So that's why I've always focused on that mindset, and just looking at my own story, which everybody doesn't know in detail, but I didn't start playing basketball until I was age 14. I didn't make my high school team till I was a senior, and I sat the bench and averaged 2 points a game as a senior. I had to walk on at a D3 school just to play college basketball. And most players who play D3 in any sport aren't playing because they're planning on going pro. They're playing because they're good enough, and they play just to go to school, and then they'll go and do something else outside of sports, which is fine. But for me to do what I did in sports, yes, it did require me to have some talent. I had to have some ability, but it was also the mentality, because I can tell you, I wasn't the most talented player from my neighborhood, not on my high school team, probably not even amongst my college peers, but I had the longest career. And a lot of the people that I dealt with over those years didn't have careers at all. It's only, I can count them on one hand, from my neighborhood, high school, and college all put together. So it was the mentality, my willingness to keep trying and keep going, and believing that there was something there, even when none of my tangible situations said that anything was going to work out. I continued to believe and kept going. And that applies to anything in life. And it can sound kind of trite, because people who reach levels of success, it sounds like they're all saying the same thing. I've heard many people say things like this. I've heard rappers say it, authors say it, business people say it. And the reason they keep saying it is because it's true. So that's why I focus so much on mindset. And when you have the right mindset, here's the other thing, Monique. When you have the right mindset, you will take the necessary actions to get the physical resources. When your mindset is in the right place, all right, you'll go to the gym every day and work on your game. When your mindset's in the right place, you'll understand investing in yourself and spending $1,000 to go to a conference just to get information. When your mindset's in the right place, you'll understand going and finding a mentor and doing everything they tell you to do, even though you're not 100% sure it's going to work out, when you're in the right frame of mind. But when a person's in the wrong frame of mind, you could give them all the talent, all the resources, all the luck in the world, and they won't achieve success. And the mindset is the root. It's the ground floor of anybody achieving any outcome that they want to achieve. So that's why it's so important to me.
Thank you for sharing. Wow, I didn't know you started at 14. Wow. That's
Yeah.
very commendable of you to, make it your senior year, then go play college ball, and then go play overseas pro. So Wow, that's amazing. So for anyone who's watching this, whether you're an athlete or not, but let's just shout out to the athletes. Anybody who has this dream, like it's not too late. Based on what Dre just shared with us, and also if you find yourself, because I'll even be vulnerable here, like I consider myself a late bloomer when it comes to a lot of things, and even with basketball, I was a late bloomer. I started back when I was 5, and also, I was able to play varsity high school for 3 years, but I remember I was so discouraged that my freshman year I didn't make it, and so I thank you for sharing that. Now, based on what you just said, let's talk about applying the mindset and what you think about mindset and your whole philosophy and what you teach and what you write in your books to apply it to creating video content. So, what sort of things that people who are especially deathly afraid of being on camera, who's never started before, what are some things based on your personal philosophy that can be applied to creating video content, especially as consistently as you do, because you're creating content on a daily basis?
I think one of the biggest things is people, well, they got to get over their fear of being on camera. Because if you're afraid of being on camera, you're not going to do it. So to get over your fear, one thing I tell people to do is just use the selfie camera on your phone, not with an audience, not online, and just talk to yourself on camera. Just talk for 5 minutes. Tell your life story on camera and just get used to speaking to a camera. Because for some people, even to this day, it's awkward for them to just talk to a device when there's not an actual human being in front of them. But just getting comfortable, just looking into the lens and talking to the camera is one thing they can start with, just to start to build some confidence in yourself, just speaking and saying what you want to talk about. Another thing is, people ask me, how do you get better at speaking in public? Well, one thing that's a really simple hack is know what you're talking about. Or talk about something that you're actually interested in. Maybe talk about your life, talk about your area of expertise, answer a question, answer some frequently asked questions around your area of expertise or whatever it is you're doing, or just tell a story. Those things, you don't have to think about what you're saying. You don't have to come up with a script. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just say whatever it is that's on your mind. And then it's just a discipline, doing it on a consistent basis. Now, again, first you got to get over that fear and get over your anxiety of being on camera, and doing it as consistently as possible, you'll start to get better at it. And if your first few attempts or first many attempts are not good, again, you probably don't have an audience yet anyway, so it's nothing to be embarrassed about. And anyone who sees it, who it resonates with, they're going to watch anyway. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be great. You just have to connect with people. People don't connect with perfection. People don't connect with you got every word right. People connect with authenticity. So that's really what you need to be real. If you're new at it and you're not quite sure what to say and you're nervous and you think people might think you look dumb, you can say that on camera, because guess what? Your audience, the people who will connect with that, are people who feel the exact same way themselves being on camera. So you're going to say, oh my God, thank you for saying that, because I feel the same way. I thought I was the only one. In this world, there are so many people, especially with the internet now, there's so many people who feel a certain way about themselves, whether we're talking about making video, playing sports, starting a business, anything that they have going on in life. There are people who feel a certain way, but because they don't see or hear anyone who is expressing that they also feel that way, those people feel like they're alone. They feel like they're isolated. They feel like they don't have anyone to talk to, no one to go to, no one who can relate to them, no one who can understand where they're coming from. And you, who might feel the exact way, video maker, prospective video maker out there, you might feel the same way that there's someone in the world also feels, but they don't know that you feel that way because you won't come out and say it on video. You won't put it out there that you feel this way. But as soon as you do, you're going to see there're going to be a whole bunch of people who come out of the woodwork, seemingly like, man, I'm so glad you said that, because I've been waiting for somebody to come out and express that how they feel is the same as how I feel. So I know I'm not a weirdo. I know I'm not crazy, because there are other people who are going through the same thing that I'm going through. That's where you find your audience. It's not in the perfection.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Dre. Because I also come from the philosophy of, earn the professional equipment. I'm using a fancier camera right now, but I'm all about, utilizing this, getting started with this. And people are, especially with the YouTube world, and that's your world primarily, that's your expertise, it seems like everybody, because of how far YouTube has grown, since you got started, everybody feels like they got to have this fancy production. And then if they don't do that, they use that as an excuse to not move forward. So I'm glad that you share that, because yeah, perfectionism is something that we're all, I feel like, is always pounding on a lot of us, and it's like we got to make it perfect first for the first time, when really it should be like a progression. So thank you so
Right.
much for sharing that. Now, you talk a lot about mindset, but what's also very, very admirable of you is your execution. So let's just say someone has the proper mindset, like you just described, but they're struggling on the execution side. And I know you said if you have the right mindset, you'll do what needs to be done to get the resources and stuff like that. But still, some people still might be a deer in headlights, especially with the medium of video. So, from your
Right.
perspective and your principles, like, how can someone transition to the execution side?
It's a good question. Well, I'll tell you, first of all, with me, I still record videos on an iPhone. Still to this day, I still record with an iPhone. I have a couple other cameras, but most of the time I don't even use them because it's too much work getting the video off the camera and then uploading it. It's easier to just record it on the phone and then I could use the YouTube app. But that's just me. But as far as your question, how can someone just get to the execution side, is at some point you got to jump in the pool. I mean, that's pretty much how it is. You got to jump in the pool and you got to just do it. I mean, like Nike says. I remember I heard Kobe Bryant say when he first came into NBA out of high school, people asked him, well, what was your mentality? How'd you survive coming out of high school playing in the NBA? He said, well, it's sink or swim. It's sink or swim. You will either survive or you won't, but the world is not going to slow down and wait for you to catch up or wait for you to get ready or wait for you to feel comfortable enough to do it. While you're doing all that waiting and preparing, the world is still moving. The world is moving forward. Your potential audience members, your potential customers, your potential clients, they still have needs. And what's going to happen is somebody else is going to come out and say what you should have said before you say it. And those potential prospects of yours are going to become their clients. They're going to become their customers. And then when you finally get in the game, you're going to say, well, nobody's interested in what I'm talking about. Well, there are plenty of people interested. It's just that you took too long to move. So the thing is, like me coming from a professional athlete world, I tend to give it to people straight. I'm going to tell you just what it is. Like in the professional sports world, it's getting gear. Like either you can go or you can't. In overseas basketball, I don't know how many people know anything about basketball overseas, but if you show up overseas and you're not in game shape, let's say the first day you show up off the plane and it is obvious that you're not in good condition physically, they'll cut you. They'll send you back home the next day. You'll have been overseas for one day and they will send you right back on a coach class flight back home if you're not ready to play. And you won't even make it to playing in the game. You won't even get a chance to prove yourself. And it's that cutthroat in the sports world. It could be like that in the business world. It's like that in any kind of world. It is like that. The thing about YouTube is that we all have the autonomy to do things as we wish and at the pace that we want to go. So nobody can fire you. Nobody can kick you out. YouTube's not going to kick you off the site. But all the opportunity gets taken off the table.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time you finally sit down at the table, you'll see that there's no opportunity there. And then you will conclude that there was no opportunity, but there was plenty of opportunity. It's just you took too long to get to the table. So you have to eventually, you got to move yourself to action. And this is just the way that the game is. If you're not ready to push yourself to action and you don't want to deal with the reality that this is the way that the game is, this is just not the game for you. But you got to be willing to step in and get in this game. Because if you're not, somebody will gladly take your spot. And this is the way that it is in the sports world. So I approach the business world the same way that I approach the sports world, that I got to earn my spot. I'm not expecting a handout. And when I show up, I got to be ready to go. And if you're not ready to go, be ready to be replaced. As simple as that.
Love the bluntness. And yes, yeah,
Yeah.
being an athlete, I mean, having to do trials, etc. I mean, you're talking about the
Right.
professional world mostly, but I mean, that's with anything, anybody who's, an athlete, a previous athlete, etc. It's that constant like trying out, making sure you're making the cut, and you got to be prepared, right? And so, with video, Dre, and let's talk about, because you said you weren't able to play varsity high school to your senior year.
Right.
You played for a D3 school in college, and then you
Yep.
made it to pro. But during that span of high school to college, and I'm sure even with
Mhm.
business, How do you deal with disappointment? Because that's another thing. People, when they do video, they expect these immediate returns, or it's a
Right.
flop, or nobody is watching,
Mhm.
et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So, based on your personal experience and what you teach to your students, your clients, and just the whole work on your game movement, how can
Mhm.
someone deal mentally and even execution wise on disappointment or flops, especially if they finally got the gumption to produce their video, but no one shows up, no one buys, no
All
one
right.
converts, et cetera, et cetera.
Great question. So there's a couple things. First of all, when it comes to putting your stuff out, these days we have repurposing. So even if like these days I'll put out a video, let's say I put out a video and 100 people watch the video, which somebody could say, well, that's nobody, that's nothing. First of all, you got to understand that like in the sports world, I'll give you another parallel from the sports world. When you go to an exposure camp, for example, you're trying to get yourself a job playing professional basketball, and there's 100 scouts and agents and managers sitting in the stands, and you're playing on the court. All right, you don't need to impress all 100 of them. You only sign a contract with one team, so you only need to impress one person. If you're out here trying to land clients or prospects, or you're trying to sell your product, you don't need to sell everybody. You only need to sell the people who need it and the people who want it and the people who connect with your message. It might be one person at a time. Now, if you're selling a $5,000 product and you made one sale a day, would that be a good day? For most people, they would probably say yes. So you don't need everybody to connect with what you're doing. So while you may be looking at people who might get 1 million views in a video, that's fine. But I'll tell you this, one raving fan is worth 100 satisfied customers. All right, you don't satisfied customers can come and go. I'm satisfied with Target, but I'm not going to stand in line for an hour to buy something from Target. But someone who I'm a raving fan of, I'll fly across the country and walk an hour just to buy something from that person. So it's finding the people who really, really resonate with what your message is. That's the most important thing. When it comes to putting something out, and let's say it just doesn't get the performance that you want it to, going back to my point about repurposing, you can take something. Sometimes when I put out something, and I think the message is really good. I'm like, man, this is a great message. This is a great video. Everybody should watch this. And then it comes out, and not a lot of people watch it. I'm actually happy because you know what I do with that video? Now, when I make a product and I want to add some bonuses or I want to have an upsell, I take that same video that, hey, nobody saw it, and now I can offer this as a bonus video because, hey, you can't even say it's a free video because nobody saw it. I'll just make that video unlisted and say, hey, here's an exclusive training, an exclusive masterclass that I made. It is exclusive because nobody saw it. So it's exclusive to you. So now I can make it a bonus and tell you that it's worth this much, and I can add that to my product offering. I can add that to my offer. I can sell that as an upsell. I can take it and cut it up into 20 pieces and use it on Instagram or post it on Facebook. So just because you put something out and not a lot of people see it doesn't mean the game is over. Now you can just use it in different ways. So don't look at it as you're some type of failure just because people didn't see that content. And over time, you can still use that footage for someone new who comes into your audience. Let's say you put out the video today, is April, whatever day it is, April. You put out the video and it's a flop in your eyes. In June, somebody's going to find out about you who never heard of you before on June 1st. They're not going to go back through all of your archives and look at everything you've ever did. All they're going to look at is what you do from that day forward. So now everything that you put out before is new to them. It might not be new to you, but it's new to them. So you can share that stuff with them and you're giving them value on top of value on top of value with something that was already out. And if that person is a true fan, they're one of those people that really connects with your message, everything that you ever put out is something that they're going to like. They're not looking at it like, all right, well, only 100 people watch this video, so it must not be good. They don't care what everybody else did. They care about, does it matter to them? So what you got to keep in mind, like I said, when you're in an exposure camp, I don't care if all the teams are interested in me. I just need one team to be interested in me. You can only sign one contract at a time. All right, you can work with, if you're coaching people or doing some kind of consulting, you might only be able to work with one client at a time, depending on what you're selling. So don't think about, oh, I need everybody or I need a certain number of people. What you want is to connect with the right individuals. The right individuals will make you more money than a whole bunch of surface level people who just might be like they're paying attention, they're cordial with your message, but they're not really bought in. You want the people who are really all in. That's more important than just having a whole bunch of people and having the the so-called vanity metrics.
I had to do it again. No, thank you for sharing that. And I mean, I've gone on rants about this because I like that you presented it in that way. Because also another side of it, and I'm glad you ended it with vanity metrics, is you started answering this question with you only had 100 views. To me, it's like, don't discount that, because those 100 views, those people didn't have to look at you in the first place. So don't take that for granted, and don't get caught
Right.
up on numbers. Like you said, vanity metrics. I talk a lot
Right.
about live video, and that's like the major complaint people have. It's like, oh, I only had one person watch me live. And I'm like,
Mm.
really? First of all, that one person didn't have to interrupt their day to watch you. And number two, in the live video game, it's all about the replay views anyway. And so, oh, I didn't mean to
Right.
press that again. Sorry. But it's like, uh to me, it's kind of like you're being selfish more so than anything else, because like you said before, if you're not creating content, there is someone that is waiting for you and waiting to hear your message. And I loved how you said,
Right.
once you start showing up and executing, and there's that one person who's waiting to hear or say what it is that you just said that really resonated with them, like they're a fan for life. And it's so
Right.
important to look at it that way, and also with video. So this
Here,
leads.
can you add something else to that?
Yeah,
For what
sure.
I was saying?
Mm-hmm.
I remember 50 Cent when he was first coming out, like years ago. He was about to do a show, and this is before his first album came out. And one of the guys in his crew was like, "Yo, 50, we about to do this show in this town that we never been to. What if only 5 people show up to the show?" They had no idea how many people would come to the show. And 50 said to him, "Look, if 5 people show up to my show, I'm gonna give those 5 people the best show that they ever got in their lives. And the next time I come to this town, they're going to tell somebody, and it's going to be 25 people at the show. And then the next time it'll be 300, and the next time it'll be 3,000. So you need to give as a professional. You want to be a professional at what you do. Being a professional doesn't mean that you give a good show when there's a huge audience, or when you're getting paid a certain amount of money, or when you feel like you reach a certain level of achievement. Being a professional means you show up and you do your job every single time, regardless of who showed up and regardless of what you're feeling. That's what being a professional means. If you want to be a professional at making video, that means you show up and you do it every single time, even before you're making money from it, even when you don't have any followers or subscribers, even when your last video didn't get any views. That's when you become a professional. It's easy to do it when everybody's watching you. You got 1 million followers and everybody's telling you how great you are. All right, who wouldn't show up and do work at that point? Now, anybody will show up. The professional is the person who's showing up even when they have none of that in place. And that's when you separate, as they say, the men from the boys or the girls from the women. So that's how you know if you're ready to be a professional at what you're doing or not. So I just wanted to add that.
Yes, most definitely. And thank you for sharing that and adding that. I didn't even know that about 50 Cent. So yeah, there you go. You guys know who 50 Cent is. And if you don't, well, I don't know, you've been living underneath a rock or something. But that goes to show you, though, everyone has a Cinderella story, if you will, or everyone they started from somewhere. So even the people that you look up to, um, you know, uh, they had to start from scratch at one point. And I apologize, there's
Right.
something going on. But they had to start from somewhere, and they were the ones who were in it for the long game. And so, with that said, those of you guys who are not familiar with Dre, and thank you for those just joining in with us. Dre has not only taken YouTube and taken ownership of it to build his brand and his business, but he's utilized that and taken it to create products. For instance, he's written 25 books, done 4 TED Talks. He does a daily podcast, if I'm not mistaken. And so, with that said, Dre, can you share with us like the strategy, or at least your journey of transition from like, okay, I've created this YouTube channel. It's transitioned to this work on your game movement. People are really loving my mindset stuff, let alone just talking about basketball or just showing, basketball videos. Once someone is starting to gain their momentum with video and stuff, Let's talk about your story of transitioning it over to writing books, creating podcasts, being asked to speak, et cetera, and literally creating like your own ecosystem for your business.
I'm glad you asked that question. So here's what happened. In 2009, I read that Google was opening up. They called it at the time the partner program. I don't know what they call it now, but it was back when you had to actually apply and ask Google, who owns YouTube, by the way, to ask them to run ads on your videos, if y'all can imagine that. Nowadays, you had to ask them to stop. Back then, you had to ask them to start. So I applied. And when you apply to something like that, of course, there's an agreement that a contract you have to accept. But usually that's just a little box that says, I accept the terms and conditions. So this is in 2009. I went and clicked on that little link that says terms and conditions. It was a 20-page contract. I printed out the whole contract and I read it. And so when I read this contract, one thing I didn't like about it, and I still don't like about it to this day because it hasn't changed, is that Google takes 45% of your money off the top. So anybody who makes money off of ad revenue from YouTube, the money that you actually get is only 55% of the money. The other 45%, YouTube keeps as their fee for owning the land. Because basically you're renting their land to post your videos on their site. And the thing that I didn't like about it was not necessarily the percentages, but the fact that there's no negotiation. It's not like you could say, hey, YouTube, I'd rather get 65%. There's no negotiation. It's take it or leave it. Because who's their competition? Where else are you going to go? Nowhere. So I knew from the very beginning, when I first started making ad revenue from YouTube videos, that this is not a sustainable long-term plan, just making YouTube videos, because first of all, I don't own this site, so YouTube could kick me off any day. If I say something about YouTube that they don't like, my account could get accidentally deleted and everything's gone. And they're taking 45% of my money. So I'm only seeing just over half of my money that I'm actually earning. I didn't like that. And because I've always been reading about business and things, and people always talked about ownership. I got introduced to like network marketing back when I was in college, and they always talked about owning something. You got to own. If you're working for somebody, then there's only so much power that you have. There's only so much leverage that you have. And I looked at YouTube as kind of like, it's not necessarily a job, but you don't own anything at the same time. So it's kind of somewhere in between. I knew I needed something else. I said I would keep using YouTube because it's a good source of leads and people see me, and when people look up a topic, they can find me through YouTube. So I'll keep using it, but this is not going to be the end game. YouTube is not the end game. So I knew I needed to create my own sites and need to create products and services that I had complete control of, to where if somebody bought something from me, instead of the money going through somebody else and then coming to me, the money went straight to me. And then if somebody had to get paid, I paid them instead of them paying me. So that's what opened my mind to making products. I made my first product about a year later, 2010. I was still making basketball videos, and a player said to me, Dre, since you work out every day, why don't you just write down what you do and put it in a document and let everybody else use it so we can work out like you work out. And I said, well, I could do that, but at this time I was reading Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week, and I've been reading his blog a lot. And he was talking about, if people remember, Tim was one of the early investors in Shopify. And Shopify was a platform that allowed entrepreneurs or people to just sell products. So because I've been reading his blog and his books, I was in this mindset of what can I sell? So I said to this person, this is in the YouTube comment section, back when you could have rational conversations in the YouTube comment section. That's not so much anymore. But I said to them, look, if I make this product and I make my program and show y'all how I work out, I'll have to charge y'all for this because I'm giving you value. Would you pay for it? And this is 14, 17-year-old kids. And they're like, yeah, we'll pay for it as long as it doesn't cost too much. I said, fine. So I went and wrote down my workout for dribbling, made it into a PDF document and put it out. And I charged $4.99 for it. And I put it up, and people started buying it. So this is in 2010. So I had a BlackBerry. If people remember the BlackBerries, when you got an email, the little red light would start blinking. So I remember I got the email with the little red light, and it said, you made a sale. I was like, wow, I just created a product out of nothing, and people bought it. Like, this is what I need to be doing. Forget YouTube. This is what I need to be doing. Make a product, something out of nothing. The money went straight to me, and I can control this. Like, I could do this forever. So then I made another product, and another product, and another product. So I just started selling products. That was again, around 2010 when I started doing that. And that was the first thing that I did, was making basketball programs for up-and-coming basketball players. And that led to, and at that time, what's funny is that I didn't even have, when I would get that email on the BlackBerry, I had to open up my computer, and then I had to email the person who bought from me. I had to email them an attachment of the program, the PDF, because I didn't even know about automatic delivery. So then I had to go find a site that did that. So somebody buys it, they automatically get the email, so I don't have to be involved in the process. So that's how I became an entrepreneur, actually. And then just knowing, like I said, people were resonating with that mindset message who didn't even play sports. So then I started writing books. I made my first book a year after that. It was my first book, Buy a Game. Then what happened after that? I don't remember. I just made more books, started writing more books, making more programs, making more products. And then when I stopped playing basketball in 2015, I already knew what I was going to do next. Going into the speaking business, I already had experience being on camera. Like being on camera actually prepared me for being on stages. Whereas some of the speaking event managers that I talked to, they didn't think so. They were like, well, making YouTube videos not the same as speaking on a stage at a conference. And I said, okay, let me go prove myself. So I did some speaking gigs, no pro bono, to prove myself, to prove that I was actually good. And still to this day, I would still do one if it was the right opportunity. It's actually how I got the publishing deal for my book, Work on Your Game, by doing a free speaking gig that I wasn't even going to do. But just proving that I was good, same thing you got to do in sports. I went to an exposure camp. And for people who don't know, exposure camps, you pay. Like they don't pay you to come, you pay to go there. So I paid to go to that exposure camp just for the possibility of an opportunity to get myself a job. So I already had this mentality. Like you said, Monique, basketball, you got to go to tryouts. 50 people show up, only 12 people make the team, but you got to go and show that what you can do. Maybe you get a chance, maybe you don't. But if you don't go, you're guaranteed to not get a chance. So in the business world, at least when it came to things like doing speaking gigs and things like that, I had to prove myself. I proved that I was good. I showed up ready to go. You don't show up like somebody teach me. You show up ready to go. And when you prove that you're good, opportunities follow after that. And from that, again, I always kept my mind anchored to how I made that product out of nothing, got the money directly. I said, this is what I need to be doing. Make my own products, make my own services, and sell them direct to consumer. Nobody can control that. Nobody can kick me out. Nobody can shut down my account. This is what I need to be doing. And that's really what my main focus has been, even since back then. Even though I'll dabble in doing other things, the main thing that I always want to do is create products and services, because if I decide to take a vacation, the products can keep selling. You can't do a speaking gig while you're on vacation, but you can sell products while you're in your sleep.
Oh my goodness. I would do the sound effect, but I kind of did that too much already. But no, thank you for sharing that and your whole journey, because those of you guys who are listening, I hope you're taking notes, because Dre has shared various techniques in his journey that, even though he got started a while ago, and I want to make sure to reiterate this, and Dre, you can jump in, is like, what he's sharing, even though he got started a while ago, you could still do it today. You could still do it today,
Right.
starting from scratch. Like, it's not something where it's like, oh, it only worked for back then. And I understand we live in the world of social media. Social media is changing on a daily basis, weekly basis, all the time. The platforms are constantly updating. But, this is why I'm so passionate about video, because I feel like no matter what changes or algorithms that are happening, every single platform out there ranks video as the top content. So as long as you're doing video, you won't have to worry so much about the algorithm changes and all that. And that's why, video is a mixture of long term and short term, in which we'll talk about that in just a second, Dre, because I do have a question about that. But the next thing I want to cover is, share as much as you're comfortable with. But let's talk about today how you're creating content, especially from a video perspective. Can you share with us like your specific workflow of, okay, it's morning time, let's just say tomorrow morning time, how you go about creating content, video content specifically?
Sure. Well, I still put out a video every day on YouTube. What I do is I always play around with different niches and trying to find out where's an area that I could really put out content there's not a ton of other people putting out content in specific areas. So sometimes that could be with basketball stuff. It can be with mindset. It can be business related. So I always try out different things. I write down a whole bunch of ideas. I'm always writing down ideas for content. So I'll record those. I may record at the most when it comes to just a straight up video that's only for YouTube, maybe 2 in a day at the most. But then I do a live stream on Instagram every day. I sit down and do a long form live stream. By long form, I mean about 20 to 45 minutes
Mhm.
every day. I download that recording and I put that up on YouTube. So that's a video there. Then any videos that are specific to a certain area, let's say I'm answering a question about playing ball overseas or writing a book, I'll make those videos. Those will come out, and those are videos that I put out every single day on YouTube. But I know I'm at least doing that live stream every day, if nothing else. Then with my podcast, which I call a masterclass, every day I'm recording every episode of that on video as well as on audio. So that video is available as well. That I keep more for my people who are in my membership. But those videos I have them all locked and loaded in YouTube. So I probably got a couple thousand videos in YouTube that are in private, that are set to private, and I have no plans on putting them out. But if I ever need to, I can put them out. All right. So I always have content ready to go, and then I take those podcast episodes, something that I just started doing, but a lot of people already do this. I take the podcast, which will be 30 minutes, and I'll go get somebody to cut it up into 6 or 7 pieces. And each one of those pieces can be a video, kind of like Joe Rogan's a guy I've seen do this really well. He'll take a little piece of a 3 hour interview and it'll be 15 minutes, and he'll put that out as a video in itself because not everybody's gonna sit and watch the whole 3 hours, or he could put that on Instagram TV or whatever you're gonna do. So I got more video than I have time to actually put it out. This is the way that I want y'all to understand. But I just make sure that I'm recording at least one new thing every single day, which is pretty easy. Because I can even take my Instagram story and put that up if I wanted to. I don't, but I save all my Instagram stories every day. So I got those going back years. So I still got 10,000 basketball videos that I never put out. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with those either. So I just am always recording every day. I'm right every day. I do audio every day, and I record videos every day. So I have the content locked and loaded, and then I can mix and match it and use it with my offers, with my products as needed moving forward. And because I got so much stuff that I never released. So again, to someone who is already buying a product of mine, I can say, hey, here's 20 bonuses of things that you don't even know about that I've already created.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I love that. A lot of people, they'll have, I guess you could say, I liked how you said, I think the most one that stood out to me was having a storage bank in your YouTube account of private videos, or unlisted rather. So, yeah, I never thought about it that way. I mean, I have a bunch as well, but yeah, you're right. By building that up, yeah, you if you are in a crunch, or let's just say at one point something drastic happens, you got to step away for like a month, you can still have stuff
Right.
going out because you have a storage bank of that. So yeah, I really love those tips. And the next thing I want to talk about is, Dre is very religiously consistent with his Instagram stories. If you guys don't know what they are, those are the 15-second clips that people, when you go into the Instagram app, you see the circle, and then if it's like colored, that means they put up a new story. And what it does is these 15-second clips can be stitched together and full out can be a video, aka a story of whatever you want to share. A lot of times, and what I love what Dre does is he shows a day in the life of Dre. Dre all day, this is what he does, And I wanted to point out, and maybe if this was intentional or not, I feel like there are a few key themes that you do on a daily basis. For one is walking around in your city in Miami. So it's like you kind of have that as like part of your theme. I also like how you have a specific quote and like you sign it at the bottom, or every single day. I also like how, because you've written so many books, like, heck yeah, let me show you guys a chapter, a couple of pages, or something to highlight based on whatever um, you want to share for that day, like a specific thing or a specific mindset or whatever it is that you want to talk about. And then also, even with your earlier YouTube videos, and you still do it now, is like you use your balcony like as your main
Mm.
background for some of your videos. So basically what I'm trying to get across here, or ask you rather, is like, um, are you intentional with that? Like, is that a way to help hold yourself accountable and not make it complicated, but make it simple and say, hey, if I just do these different things, it makes it easier to deliver.
Well, it's not even so much that I need to hold myself accountable because it's not a job to me. Like
Right.
none of the stuff that I do is a job to me. Like
Sure.
my Instagram story is me showing you who I actually am. I would be doing that stuff even if we didn't have smartphones.
Okay.
So every day I do take a walk in the morning, I take a walk in the evening. I like to go outside and just get a breath of fresh air at the start of the day. And with the quote thing that you mentioned, I don't even remember where that came from, but I've been doing it for so long that now every day I'm like, it was a night like a week ago that I forgot to do it, and I had to get up like 10 minutes after I woke up, like, yo, I got to I forgot to do it, so I had to go and put that in there because I had forgot it. But those things that's just who I am. So I
Okay.
eat the spinach every day. I go on the walks, and whatever's happening in the midst of the day, I'm telling people those things. And what was the other question you asked me?
Um, well, it was just one question. I was just mentioning, the fact that you showcase a part of your book, a chapter inside of that.
Oh, right.
I feel like for those who are just getting started with video, if they kind of approach video in that way of having like a theme or a consistent thing that they're doing, that it makes it easier for them to deliver.
Okay. Yes, I think it can help if people have a theme of what you're doing, but at the same time, it shouldn't feel like you have a theme. It shouldn't
Okay.
feel like you're coloring by numbers
I
because
like that.
then it's going to start looking like you're just doing it like as a system. Like, oh yeah, I got to do this. Oh yeah, I got to post something to my story. I got to say something. If you're doing that, then it starts to be boring because it seems like you're doing it because you think you're supposed to be doing it. Anybody who follows my Instagram story for 24 hours can see I'm not doing it because I feel like I'm supposed to be doing it. I'm doing it because I got something that I want to show you. I want you to see. Let me show you this page out of my book, or let me tell you something that was on my mind right now at this moment, or let me show you where I'm going, or I'm on this flight, or I'm just taking a walk, or this has just been a long day at work. Whatever it is that I'm doing, I'm just going to show you who I am, what I'm really doing. So I would say that I am probably lucky to be somewhat of a natural when it comes to being on camera.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I put a lot of hours in this. As they say, 10,000 hours to reach, no proficiency.
Sure.
I got 20,000 hours in this. Like I've been doing this for a long time, and I've been doing it every single day. So when I first started, people didn't quite know who I was, and there's some people who come and go. They see what I'm doing, they hear what I'm saying, they hear the language, and they're like, "Oh, this is not for me."
Mm-hmm.
But there are some people who come in and say, "You know what? This is perfect. This is exactly what I needed. I have no idea who this dude is, but I like the way he's talking. I'm interested in this," and they stick around. So you, as the person who is sharing in any form of content, whether that be the story, YouTube, podcast, writing, whatever, you have to be willing to reject some people.
Mm-hmm.
I talked about this on my podcast. Everybody knows about attraction marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You show your who you are or what you're talking about or your lifestyle, whatever you have, whatever you want to show off, your body, your material possessions, whatever, and it draws certain people in because they're attracted to whatever it is you're presenting. But there's the opposite of that. We call it rejection marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Rejection marketing is letting certain people know that you know what, I'm not for you. All right, you don't like profanity? Don't follow me because I'm going to curse. All right, you don't like Miami? Don't follow me because I'm gonna show you Miami. You don't like a black guy? All right, don't follow me because I'm black. All right, so whatever it is that sometimes you got to let people know that this is not for you. And the thing about marketing these days is a lot of people are trying to be in the middle. They're trying to not offend anybody. They're trying to make sure that nobody's pissed off. They're trying to make sure that everything they say, everyone can appreciate on some level. But the problem is, if you're not for a particular audience member, that means you're really not for anybody. And what you're going to have is a whole lot of surface level fans. Just like having a whole bunch of satisfied customers. It's cool to have satisfied customers, but as soon as there's a better option, they'll leave you
Mm-hmm.
and go be somebody else's satisfied customer. But a raving fan
Mm-hmm.
will pay extra just to get something from you. A raving fan will follow you everywhere you go. And the thing is, you can't create raving fans without at the same time pissing some people off. But at the same time, letting some people know, you know what? This is not for you. I absolutely want you to not like this. I want you to be mad at it. I want you to go write a blog post and say how much you don't like me and why you don't like me, because I'm going to use that energy to let my fans know, look, this person doesn't like me because of this, and this. And this is the exact reason why you do like me.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to polarize the audience. I mean, look at our president. He won the election because he polarized the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether you agree with it or not is besides the point, but that's why he won. Okay, because he was willing to polarize. You, as a person who's putting out content in any format, you got to be willing to polarize. You got to be being who you are. Everybody is not going to agree with it. So if you're looking at what you're doing and you see everybody's kind of agreeing, everybody's like, yeah, that's cool, you're holding back. And if you stop holding back, some people are going to move away, but a whole bunch of people are going to move closer.
I love it. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, I feel like we should just end the interview, in which we are approaching the top of the hour. And as always, it's great to hang out with you, Dre, because I feel like you have so many knowledge bombs here. So let's, first of all, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I loved all what you were sharing right there, because, you know, in marketing, and you're familiar with this, you know, we say the riches are in the niches. And I feel like the biggest amateur mistake is trying to cater to the broad audience, and it's like really hard because it's like, I want everyone to like me, you know, I want everyone to buy from me. But it's like when you do become polarizing and also niche down, those who maybe you want to follow, they end up finding you anyway. But as long as you're, you know, tackling that one particular type of audience, like, you're golden. So thank you so much for sharing that. Because yeah, you're right. I feel like that's one of the biggest amateur mistakes, whether for business, and even with video, is like trying to cater to everyone. So thank you for sharing that. So the very last question I want to end with is, you know, you kind of given us a bunch of amazing stuff, but for, it's a two-part question. For
Okay.
newbies, what are the three things that they can do right now, today, to get started with video? So that's part one, and I'll
Mm-hmm.
again. And then part two is those who have tried video, right? And we talked about it, where they kind of got discouraged and it flopped. You know, how can they turn over a new leaf and get you know, embrace it again and start doing it? So part one, you know, for a complete newbie, for you, what would be the first three steps someone should do to get started with video?
All right. For the brand new person, three things you should do. Number one, turn on your selfie camera on your phone, and you can either hold it in your hand or put it on a tripod, and tell your story of who you are and what you're about in 5 minutes or less on camera. Then take that footage, don't edit it, don't do anything, and just upload it to your YouTube account. Now, you don't have any subscribers or followers because you haven't put any videos out before, and just publish the video. Put it out publicly. Nobody's going to see it anyway because you don't have any subscribers. So just put it out. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to go on Instagram, and you're going to do an Instagram story where you're going to post at least 5 story snaps, 15-second snaps, video snaps showing your face over the course of a day. All right, so your story in the day needs to have at least 5 video snaps of you showing your face and you talking. I don't care what you talk about, what you say. You could do way more than 5 if you want. You got to do at least 5. And on Instagram or Facebook or wherever you prefer, YouTube if you want, do a live stream video where you do the exact same thing. You tell your story. The reason why I say tell your story is because you don't have to think about it. You don't have to script it out. You don't need time to prepare. Just tell your story. All right, who you are, where you're from, what do you do for a living, who's your family, you have a dog, what kind of job you got, whatever it is you want to talk about, just you got to talk for at least 5 minutes. That's all you're going to do. The reason why you're going to do this is so you can, first of all, get over your fear of publishing. You're going to publish the video, and even though you don't have any subscribers, nobody's going to see it. So you get over your fear of publishing. You get over your fear of doing it live. Now, if you're on Instagram, you probably have followers. Now, maybe they're just your friends or coworkers or people you went to school with, but somebody's going to watch that video.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're committing yourself when you get on there and you do it. And because the people who are watching you on IG video, the live stream, they're probably your friends.
Mm-hmm.
All right. They're not going to be harsh about you. They're not going to clown you. They're not going to tell you that you're terrible. They're not some random troll. They're going to applaud you for saying, hey, I like the fact that you did that. I like what you said. They're going to text you the next day and say, yo, I saw your Instagram live. That was pretty good. Now that's going to build your confidence. And you're going to start doing the story. You're going to do the 5 story snaps so you can practice brevity. The thing about Instagram stories is you got to be able to get everything you want to say out in 15 seconds. It's not as easy as it looks, but you'll get better at it. So you'll be able to tell your story in 15-second sound bites and in a 5-minute sound bite. So those 3 things will help you get a whole lot better and get over your fears of talking to a live audience, publishing, and being able to condense what you want to say down to 15 seconds or less. Three birds, one stone.
Love it, love it, love it. And then for part two, someone who's either a business veteran or, they've tried video and it just didn't quite work out, but, they're willing to possibly do it again.
All right. So someone who's done video, what kind of video did they fail at?
Um,
And why did they consider it a failure?
well, okay, they're doing it for business, right? So that means
Okay.
either getting a lead or a sale. So some sort of conversion.
Okay. So they did a video and it just didn't produce the result that they wanted it to produce.
Mm-hmm.
Do another one. Do another video. Do it again. Try it again. Maybe it wasn't the video itself that failed. Maybe your headline sucked. Maybe the sales copy sucked. Maybe the offer or the product sucked. So, and maybe you were selling to the wrong person.
Right.
So it might not be the video that failed. It could have been any one of those other things. So what you can do is test out all of those things. Do the video again. Make another video and another video and another video. And what you should do for the business person. So if you have a business, that means, and you're making video and you're trying to sell something, that means you probably know at least one topic really well.
Yeah.
So here's what you should do. Write down everything you know about that topic. Write down all the common mistakes that people make in that area that you didn't make mistakes in, or maybe you did, but you overcame those mistakes because you're an expert now. Write down the top 20 things that you wish you knew when you started, but you know now that if you were starting over, you would want somebody to tell you. Write down the top 20 questions that people always ask you when they find out what you do for a living and what the answers are. Write down the top 10 or 20 misconceptions that people have. People think they know how it goes, but they don't actually know. Write all of those down. Then write down 20 things that people never ask about what you do and that never think about what you do, but are really important, but they don't know because they're not on the inside the way that you are. So right there, I just gave you 100 content ideas. Make a video for each one of those 100 content ideas and put each one of them out for 100 days straight. I guarantee you one of those is going to hit. One of those is going to pop. Send each video to your email list. Put each one on your Facebook page. Hire somebody to chop each one up and make it into, you can turn that 100 videos into 500 videos and put them up on Instagram. Somebody's going to resonate with at least one of those videos. All right, if nobody resonates with at least one of 100 videos, all right, quit. Okay, but otherwise, keep going. All right, somebody's going to resonate with those. Just keep putting that content out. And if you're ambitious, you can make an article for each one of those 100. You can start a podcast for each one of those 100, and you can send those out to your email list, whatever it is you want to do. But there's no reason, if you're an expert, if you have a business and you're making money, there's no reason why you can't create content around your specific area and just own that area, at least to the point that when somebody comes to you, they're like, man, this person really they know their stuff. Every piece of information I need in that area, I can get it from this one individual.
Yes, end it with a bang. I love it. I felt like you were just riffing. You were just like, okay, we're gonna do this, da, 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 da. So, thank you so much, Dre. Thank you so much, Dre, for coming on. Greatly, greatly appreciated. And for those who want to join the Work on Your Game movement, who want to read the mindset books and all of those great things, where can people find you online?
Man, well, I'm on all the social media platforms, and since I'm in so many different places, to give people a focus, I would suggest you get my book, The Mirror of Motivation. You can get that book for free. It's a self-guide to self-discipline, which will allow you to really start being who you want to be as a person, so you can do what you want to do, so you can get the results that you really want to get, really connecting with your true self. You can get that book free. Just take care of the shipping by going to mirrorofmotivation.com, mirrorofmotivation.com.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And those of you guys who are watching this, let's give Dre applause. I mean, I know I saw the comments coming in, but please share this. If you find someone who can really resonate with what we shared in the message, and whether you're an athlete or not, but more specifically, I'm speaking to those entrepreneurs and business owners right now because, and I'm sure Dre can attest to this, the fact that we're all at home, to me, there's no better time to get started with what Dre has shared with you, either from getting your mind right to executing and creating content on a daily basis. there's no longer the excuse of not having time because you can't really go anywhere, right? Number two is, in which we didn't get to tackle this, and maybe we'll do this another time. Those who are afraid to record themselves, if you are living with someone or a roommate or have a family, make it a whole project or experience where they help you create content. So you can't have that as an excuse anymore as well. And then to me, it's the easiest time because everyone's home, they're bored, they're scrolling on their phones constantly, even more so because they're so bored. It's easy for people to show up to your live streams naturally, organically, without doing the whole pay traffic game and all that other stuff. And so, day two is great. We have another guest coming on, Liz J. Simpson, at 4 p.m. Eastern. But today is a special day for this particular third edition because we have two amazing speakers. But also having Dre come on because I feel like mindset is very, very important and key to have set in place as a foundation. And I just love how athletes, anybody who you look up to, pretty much a lot of people like sports, but it's the mindset that these athletes have, that Dre has, who's been able to, no matter what failures or whatever is coming on, whether they make a team or not, or tryouts, or I don't know, they have a sucky season and they got to turn around and pick it back up. These are very sound individuals who know how to get their mind right quickly, and then also know that they got to execute in order to make it happen. Otherwise, they lose their career. They're out of a job. They're out of, whatever. And I love how people like Dre have flocked to the internet and social media to create a personal brand for themselves, just so that when that day comes, when their career ends or they decide to retire or walk away or whatever happens, they have a business and something that's been put in place as a result of executing. So thank you so much again, Dre. And any last words before we sign off?
Well, thank you for having me. And for everyone out there who is thinking about getting into the video game, like Monique said, there's no better time than the present to get yourself involved. Everybody's at home. Nobody has anything else to do. And anything that you've been thinking about doing, talking about doing, planning to do, but you couldn't do it because you didn't have time, that excuse is dead now. And eventually this whole situation is going to be over and everybody's going to be back to the new normal, whatever that is, and you might not have time anymore. So don't let this opportunity pass you by. Take advantage of it. Put yourself out there boldly and authentically. You never know who is going to be watching. You only need to convince one person, and that could turn everything for you.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Be sure to tune back here at 4 p.m. Eastern for our second amazing guest, and I'll talk to you soon.